Whether we
It's at the intersection of where the congestion is.
At Jimmy Davis and Clyde Van and La Massillons, and then we're back here. We gotta be back here at 9:15.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's where the congestion is. They're all the way back to the Russell, the other side of
do a plug on this thing and try to cut it.
It's right down from
I don't know why it's not on there.
Jeff, we don't have to get out now.
We don't have to get out.
But he could see all the
He could see all that water. And that's where
After
road.
the
We can get back in there and have the helicopter come over. That would be a perfect spot. We leave all the street and come right there.
Come here.
And they can't see.
We'll do Morgan Street, and then we're just gonna run down to Henry Hudson.
Which is
Stop
right there.
at Russell Road.
We'll just call it, I mean,
Wave them way back
Back
to
sidewalk,
the state, no way.
Dam, Massillons back.
Beside them.
It's almost a stop and go.
It is.
Okay.
And that way they can't see. Came to the Russell Road, it's all the water there.
if we could, we're gonna go ahead and call to order. We're gonna have an invocation from Councilman Corbin and followed by a pledge of allegiance from Councilman Jacobs. Ready?
Aye.
Awesome. All right.
Heavenly Father, we appreciate the opportunity to be here today. We ask that you please be with our citizens who are working against this water every day to try to keep their belongings, and be with our city workers and all the volunteers out there that are putting their lives at risk and working long hours to try to help out everybody and pitching in a hand. We ask that we get some relief from this as soon as possible. Guide us in our decisions today. Help us to be good servants for the people. Amen.
Amen.
And if you would join me in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you all, and if we could call the roll.
Present.
Here.
Present.
Present. All right, and tomorrow I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the administrative conference from Friday, May 22nd, and the city council meeting on Tuesday, May 26th. At this point, we are at awards, recognition of distinguished guests, and communications. And before I ask any council member if they have any awards, recognitions, or distinguished guests to acknowledge, I would like to invite the city attorney and whatever additional people that they have to speak on resolution 105 and 109. As I understand, they have some time constraints and would like to do that at the beginning of the
Certainly.
meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Come on.
Councilman, did you need anything from me particularly, or?
No, I just was asking if you want to introduce who's here to speak today, or you want to set it up?
We have bond counsel, Bill Bowles, we have our financial team and municipal advisors, Charlotte and Janice, and we also have one of our underwriters counsel, Mr. Alex Washington.
Mr. Chairman, would
Good
you like me to read
afternoon.
the resolutions?
Yeah, if we could.
You would like us to wait for the...
Well, we're just going to let Brian go ahead and read the resolutions so everybody knows which ones we're referring to.
Let me find them.
105 and
Seeing 109. Yeah,
105
okay.
and 109.
Okay,
105.
Resolution 105 is a resolution declaring the intentions of the city of Shreveport, state of Louisiana, the city to proceed with the issuance of not to exceed $35 million taxable revenue funding bonds, Shreveport Airport Systems in two series for the purposes of refunding certain existing indebtedness to the city's airport system, purchasing a municipal bond insurance policy, and/or refunding a debt service reserve fund or reserve fund certainly, if necessary, paying the cost of issuance of the bond, making application to the State Bond Commission for approval of said bonds, and providing for other matters in connection therein. Resolution 109 is introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to June 23, 2015. This is a resolution authorizing the city of Shreveport, state of Louisiana, the city to hire professionals in conjunction with the issuances of not to exceed $35 million taxable revenue refunding bonds, Shreveport Airport Systems in one or more series of the city for the purpose of refunding prior bonds of the city with respect thereto.
All right.
For the record, my name is Charlotte Knight Marshall. I'm with TKG and Associates, your municipal advisor, and we're attempting to go to market as soon as allowable. We have to, of course, go through the resolution process with you. Then we have to attend and address any airport board concerns. We will be at Bond Commission on July the 16th, and we plan to go to market as quickly as possible after the Bond Commission gives permission. The bonds are to create savings in your debt payment, your annual debt payments. We are subject to the market. As some of you know, the refundings are based on if the market's here, we're good. If the market's like there, not so good. But we're holding steady now. Your team of 2 investment bankers, bond counsel, underwriters counsel, and disclosure counsel have been put in place and have been working diligently towards the goal of getting the refunding. As of last Thursday, we're asking for updates on the markets from the underwriters. We were somewhere in the area of a little more than 2.5 million in savings, and it has decreased your, it'll be issued as a refunding on what was originally a longer-term bond, so the market should give us a little bit of favorability, because now it's going to be issued like a shorter term, because we're refunding. We're also refunding on a taxable basis because the original bonds were issued as AMT bonds, and the way to do that so that it falls within all the legal requirements are to do taxable bonds. The taxable bond rates are currently right on top of tax exempt rates, and they're favorable. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Appreciate the update.
Okay, thank you.
And I do need to clarify the record. I'm sorry. Alex Washington is actually serving as co-bond counsel.
Okay, and I see Miss Jackie is here now too. Yes, okay, great. Thank y'all so much. Did y'all have anything else that you wanted us to be aware of? Anything?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I just want to mention that
And just go ahead, Bill, state your name for the
Bill
record.
Bowles Law Firm, along with Alex Washington, co-bond counsel for this transaction. As Ms. Charlotte mentioned, all you're doing here today or tomorrow will be passing a resolution to authorize us to go to the Bond Commission and get approval. We, as always, would have to come back to the council to have it issued. We'd also come back to the council by a separate resolution to approve the list of fees, so you'll know everybody that's being paid. And then because in the hiring resolution, it's all in there. But this is, again, preliminary. But we're trying to fast track this because, as Charlotte says, the market, this is a refunding, and we want to maximize the savings and the indications, or you never know when it's going to start going, as we all know. But anyway, we want to thank you for the opportunity.
Thank y'all. All right.
Mr. Chairman, let me ask one question.
Yes.
Let me just ask one question. Did I hear, Charlotte, that the projected savings would be 2.5, at least in that area?
Yes, sir. We have we check in on the market once a week, and we're using Thursdays as a holding place now. But as we get closer to actual sale, we'll probably be doing it a lot more often. But that was as of like last Thursday, the present value savings, which is different from the gross savings, and I try to manage expectations because, as we discussed with the CEOs of the deputy CEO and the CEO and other folks, if we don't save $1 million, it's kind of like not worth doing.
If you don't save $1 million, it's not worth it.
No, it's too expensive. If we can't do $1 million in savings, it's not worth doing.
Good, so that
So
leaves,
we're just hoping to keep the savings at that level because it's only a $30 million project. And we are away from where we were last year in the market. The market was way more favorable when we did all those series of refundings last year. As a matter of fact, last week, in the last 8 to 10 days, the market has moved 25 basis points away from us.
okay.
And
So-
this is gross, the 2.5 million is gross of fees. It's not, we don't take our fees after that. It's calculated as
With
though the
everything-
fees have been taken.
Everything is,
already.
all the costs are in that savings.
Okay, that was my lead into my next question. Say that again, all the costs is where?
They're included they're taking into account, when we say there's a savings number, whatever that savings number is, includes all your cost of issuance, everything that you have to pay out, it's already calculated into that number.
Yeah, I misspoke. It's net of fee. So after we pay everybody, you get 2.5.
You talking about all these people in back of you?
That's
right.
And
all,
Not here.
and all the various and sundry things they have to pay for in
You
order
already
to
paid
get
them
this.
salary. You don't get no
Well,
money.
I was looking for the net savings.
the
That-
net savings is
Okay,
2.5.
all right, we're good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
All right, so now we are, and I appreciate everybody letting us do that a little early, but now we're back at 5A. Does any council member have any awards, recognitions, or distinguished guests they'd like to recognize at this time? Seeing none, we will move on. Mayor Tyler, do you have any awards, recognitions, or communications at this time?
Not today. We'd like to say that tomorrow we plan to give an update on our disaster with the flooding. If you all will permit us to just wait until tomorrow. We're gathering additional information today. The crest is supposed to occur today at 37 feet. And, you know, if it does, we're just waiting, and we'll be able to give you an additional update tomorrow on the flooding.
Great, thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
With your update and presentation, I include some areas of which citizens could contact or be involved in to help them in the interim of the floods being, water's going down. In other words, I'm asking, are there any benefits that the state or the federal government assistance that are available for anybody here?
We have been in those conversations for over the past 3 days.
Okay.
And until we have been able to see the water start receding,
Okay.
the after effect, the aftermath, when all the water goes down, that's where the impact is going to be.
Sure.
Now, you know, certainly we can give you some preliminary numbers about our threshold in the parish. The threshold they told us was like 907,000. We've exceeded that, far exceeded that. But what we're also being told is, once the water has receded, then all of the damage you will be able to see then.
Right.
So to give anybody a figure now is really going to be way off. And so we feel like if we can just wait until the water recedes and everybody can actually get back in and assess what the damages are, we'll be able to do a better calculation of how much. And of course, we are now saying to citizens, we've been also at the table with the governor's people, with FEMA, and we've already begun that process. And what they've done, they've given us the contact people so that they'll be able to send teams in when this disaster is just about over. And then they'll start working with us individually. We'll have meetings, but we'll set that up, and we'll give you all the information that we can give you as of tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, and let's see, I think that brings us to reports. Does anybody have any concerns or questions for property standards at this time? Seeing none. You should have received your revenue collection plan, or at least the sales tax collections report
Yes,
came
that's the
earlier
second.
today electronically. It was not happy news,
not.
and it reflected, I think, another rainy part of our year. So let's hope we'll have a rebound from that.
Yeah.
But it's certainly, if you look at those industries that saw significant decreases, they were industries that, you know, are convenience based, where you know, if it's not easy for somebody to get somewhere to purchase certain items, you know, if they're distracted by rain or bad weather, they're not going to go out and buy those things, and they were severely impacted.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
well, let's hope for some dry days ahead. Let's see, that brings us to the surety bond forfeitures report. We also received that electronically today. Did anybody have any problem opening that or receiving that? Seeing none, we'll move on to public hearings tomorrow. There will be several public hearings tomorrow. Let's see. I've got, do I read these, or who reads these off? I'll read it. I mean, does anybody have any question about the, it's several annexations. One is, two are in District D and two are in District E. Does the council members from either of those areas have questions, or are members of engineering here? If there's any
Yes.
questions about that?
We're here to answer any questions, Mr. Chair.
Only thing I've got is, because they're all annexation hearings, do we just have one public hearing for all of them, or do we have to open and close separate hearings for each four? Or?
I think we do those separately. I'm pretty sure that's a procedure.
Okay, I was just curious.
Got it. Okay, so, and I think, these shouldn't be a big surprise. I mean, they've been on our agenda before, so we're familiar with
3
them.
weeks.
But if anybody does have any questions, please let us know. We'll make sure those get answered.
I have one question,
Is that
Mr.
you,
Chairman.
Councilman Bradford?
Yeah.
Great.
Again, being new on the council, tell me what initiates an annexation? Is it the neighborhoods or the city?
It could be either.
Okay,
We have persons that petition the city who want to come inside the city. And that's basically the method by which we annex areas, new areas into the city. In the case of one of these annexations, it's a small area, a road that had been left out of the city for a long time. We discovered it, and we need to bring it in. It's surrounded totally by the city.
okay. I mean, how many residents you think is in there?
Sir?
Is it residents? Residents there, just area?
Just a small road right-of-way area.
It's literally the addresses on either side are in the city, but just the ground underneath the street is not in the city. It just seems like a paperwork error that happened at some point.
Okay.
It's very weird.
Exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And which of these that contains residents, and how many residents, for instance?
One of the annexations, ordinance number 42, contains 22 acres. There are no residents that are going to be brought in at this point, but it is a residential area to be developed. It's the Long Lake area.
The Long Lake area?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Ordinance number 43 is an area along Mount Zion Road in Linwood, and that's corner of Mount Zion Road and Linwood. Got it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm visualizing where you're at.
Okay, and that's a commercial area that's going to be brought in.
Okay,
No residents.
okay.
Okay? Ordinance number 44 is the Brooks Road area that we were talking about, where it's only a road right-of-way that's going to be brought in. Okay, no residents. And then ordinance number 45 is a 43-acre area. It will be residential. It has no development on it yet, but it is an addition to the Southern Trace subdivision.
Okay, and my only reason for asking that is that I was trying to see was any of these annexations would alter the makeup of the city as well as demographics and racial makeup of the city. Because I mean, in the past, I think that has always been a situation where we want to keep a balance of how we annex residents into the city.
None of these annexations will add additional citizens at this point in time to the city.
Okay.
In the future, there will be residences that will come in where these areas have been annexed.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, it's good that we get residents.
Sure.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we keep a balance of residents.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, and seeing no other questions, we will move on to adding legislation to the agenda. Mr. Crawford, I believe there is some legislation to be added for tomorrow.
Adding items to the agenda, public comments, confirmations, and appointments. A, adding legislation to the agenda, regular meeting only, and public comments on motions to add items to the agenda. Resolutions 111 suspends certain provisions of Chapter 10 of June 21st, 2015, relative to dispensing sales and/or consumption of alcoholic beverages in the 600 block of Texas Street for the 108th in the 318th event.
108 in the 318.
In the 318 event. Sorry, my bad. Resolution 112, suspending the effects of certain provisions of Chapter 10 and Chapter 106 of the City of Shreveport Code of Ordinances relative to alcoholic beverages for the Let the Good Times Roll Festival on June 19th through the 21st, 2015.
Great, thank you. And yeah, those are both sort of late coming requests that I had for events that are in downtown area, just the standard Chapter 10 exemptions that we typically do. But if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to.
Are there any objections to putting these on the consent agenda?
Does anybody have a problem if we just put those under consent? Great, thank y'all. And now we have no requests to speak under public comments today. We do have the following appointment to be considered. Mr. Crawford, do you want to read the appointment? Or I'm happy to. I didn't, that's what my script says, but I'm happy to read the name because you seem like you're busy.
I got 2 years going here. Confirmations and appointment, Shreveport Mortgage Authority, Mr. Jeremy Babers.
Babers. Yeah.
For a 4-year term.
I think that seems like a great choice. I've known Mr. Babers for a while. He's a good young man. So, anybody have any questions about that? Okay, moving on to consent agenda legislation. And what we will have under consent, we'll have no introductions, but to adopt resolutions and ordinances, starting with 101. Do you want to read those?
May I say something before we go to the next one? Our attorney was reminding us some of these resolutions where we have the exemptions for alcoholic beverage. We may have to move some of those events. And in case we have, for an example, 112, the Good Times Roll Festival, we may have to move that event. And if that's written into the ordinance, we would need to make a change in the ordinance.
So we may need to make an adjustment to the language to accommodate for the
Yes,
events.
sir. Because right now, you know, we're just in the middle of flooding, and we may have to move.
Great point. Absolutely. We'll look at that and see what kind of amendment we might need to make for tomorrow. Thank you so much for that that point. It is well taken.
Thank you.
We don't typically have to worry about that with Let the Good Times Roll Festival, but this year we may. So, let's see, Brian, did you want to read 101?
Resolution 101 is declaring the city's interest in certain adjudicated properties as surplus. Resolution 102 declares the city's interest in certain adjudicated properties as surplus. Resolution 110 suspending certain provisions of Chapter 10 on July 24, 2015 relative to dispensing, sale, and/or consumption of alcoholic beverages in the 400 block of Lake Street for the 1-year anniversary block party for 4 businesses on Lake Street.
And then was there a resolution 103 as well?
Mr. Chairman, that needs to be postponed.
Okay.
So we'll take it off of the consent agenda. And we need to postpone it. It's a 2-reader.
Okay.
Got it. 2-reader.
All right. So now we're at regular agenda legislation. Mr. Crawford, could you please proceed?
Certainly. Resolutions on second reading and final passage, or which will require only 1 reading. Resolution 92 accepting dedications of Riverview Lane and River Run Circle in Riverscape Village Phase 2. And I think
which will be postponing
that's a postpone.
Yes.
Yeah, we've gotten word from the legal staff that we need to postpone that again.
Got that. Resolution 98 authorizing the execution of a retainer agreement with the Greenwald Law Firm, LLC. Resolution 99 authorizing the execution of a retainer agreement with Mayor Smith and Roberts, LLP. Resolution 100 authorizes the mayor to make application with the United States Department of Justice for the JAG grant funding. Resolution 104 selecting the Times as the official journal of the City of Shreveport for the period commencing July 1st, 2015 through June 20th, 2016. Resolution 105 is a resolution declaring the intentions of the City of Shreveport, State of Louisiana, the city to proceed with the issuances of not to exceed $35 million taxable revenue refunding bond Shreveport Airport Systems in 2 series for the purposes of refunding certain existing indebtedness of the city's airport system, purchasing a municipal bond insurance policy, and/or funding a debt services reserve fund or reserve fund certainly, if necessary, paying the cost of issuances of the bond, making application to the State Bond Commission for the approval of said bonds.
Chairman,
Yes.
Resolution 104, we are in discussion with the newspaper production company now about the fees to be charged the city. We think that their proposal may be in excess of what state law authorizes. If they think that it is not because of the way that it's done, but we are going back and forth with them now. So one of the ways, the other thing is the state law says that we're supposed to select an official journal at the first meeting in June. So one of the ways that we can do it if we don't settle the amount would be to say that the contract amount shall be amounts, or the contract shall be approved by the city attorney's office, which implies that they would not approve anything that was not, the state law did not, that was in violation of state law. So there will probably be an amendment to this, but that's one of the ways that we could go to, on this particular issue, if there are no objections.
Could we be even more explicit than that? I mean, can we just say that, the contract will be in accordance with state law and then list the state?
I think we could do that and say, as approved by the city attorney.
Okay, great. Councilman Bradford.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, certainly Times is a major paper of record for Shreveport. And what you just said is very disturbing. So I'm asking you, is there any options for who could be our, who could have that distinction of official journal carrier?
Julie, jump in anytime. I think state law says that if there is a newspaper that is domiciled in the city and it meets the other criteria for an official journal, then you're supposed to use them. Now, the Sun may also meet that definition, but our problem there is that the charter says that we have to have the minutes published within 7 days of the date of the meeting, and I don't think that the Shreveport Sun could meet our publication requirements.
I agree. Is there any other who meet that criteria?
No.
No. Just
Not
those
that I
two.
know of.
So the language that you mentioned regarding the limitation on their fees, is that something that
It's in state law.
that's enforceable? Huh?
Yes, we think so. The other thing is that we don't have to have a contract. We can pick the official journal, and then the state law, the fees that are authorized in the statute are the fees that they are authorized to charge us. So we think we'll have an official journal either way, whether we have a contract or not, but we feel confident that we will have a contract.
Okay.
All right. Thank y'all for that additional information, and we'll be looking for the appropriate amendment tomorrow. Now we're at introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to June 23rd, so these are first readings. And Mr. Crawford, do you want to proceed with that introduction of resolutions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution 106 authorizes and providing for the waiver of permit, inspection, and other related fees for the construction of a house in the 1110 Cypress Creek Circle in Norris Ferry Crossing subdivision. Resolution 107 acknowledging that the City Council has reviewed the 2015 internal municipal water pollution prevention report concerning North Regional and Lucas wastewater plants. Resolution 108 authorizes the waiver of building permit fees and authorization the donation of building materials and supplies to 5 to 10 qualified low-income homeowners in the City of Shreveport. Resolution 109, a resolution authorizing the City of Shreveport, State of Louisiana, the city, to hire professionals in conjunction with the issuance of not to exceed $35 million taxable revenue refunding bonds, Shreveport Airport Systems, in one or more series of the city for the purpose of refunding prior bonds of the city.
Great. Thank you very much. Councilman Fleury.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, why, on Resolution 106, why are we waiving the?
This is I believe, I don't have it sitting in front of me.
Yeah, it's one of those fundraiser
It's
houses.
a fundraiser house that they're going to build, and then they're going to raffle off The
like
tickets
House
to,
for Hope or
yeah.
This is Friendship House.
Is it Friendship House?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the resolution 107, when was we supposed to have been provided that report?
That one, and I'm glad you asked that. I was gonna say,
I was gonna look.
I have not
was gonna
seen
look
that.
to the chairman.
the
to
first
read
time
it.
I saw one of these on council, I was like, wait, I'm approved and not reviewed. What? But keep in mind, this is the introduction of it. It's not to be passed until the 23rd, and you will be made. This report is available. It's just we have to, introduce it now so that the timing can flow right. But
It is linked on the agenda if
Okay.
you want to look at it that
It's
way.
attached to the resolution.
to the resolution, yeah. So you can find it there. So it is available that way. And if you need a different way of reading it, can they just email you, Barbara? Or? Perfect.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
So Barbara
much
can
for
provide
doing that.
an additional copy if that format doesn't work.
And no pressure, but previous chairs have read every word of it.
Oh, I mean,
Generally speaking,
I'm going to do a performance of it. I've memorized it.
I'd like Jeff's executive summary.
I'm going to recite it for you all.
There's a test
I'll be joined. What's that?
There's a test.
Oh, good. I'm sure I will ace it with flying colors. I will recite it, and I will be followed by Ken Kraft reciting the Declaration of Independence. It will be $5 a head at the Strand. So we're going to make a night of it.
Sorry, I missed.
All right, let's see. Introduction of ordinances not to be adopted prior to June 23rd. Mr. Thompson, can you proceed with the introduction of ordinance?
I'm not Mr. Thompson, but I'll proceed.
Well, hey, sometimes I read too
I'm the
closely
warm-up
to my
act for
script.
Mr. Thompson tomorrow.
You go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Crawford, and we'll flip back over.
Ordinance 49 amends the 2015 capital improvements budget. This is related to an additional turn lane needed for Whole Foods on 70th Street. You've probably seen. Ordinance 50 is amending the 2015 general fund budget appropriations, the funds authorizing herein. Ordinance 51 amends the 2015 budget funding contractual services provided to Sportran by Metro Management Associates.
Question.
Yes. Councilman Jenkins.
Okay, so when we did the first capital improvements, when we put together this improvement for this turn lane, did we not have all the money in,
He's coming.
coming at me?
I think there was a change. I think we had the money and then they asked for an additional change, and I think Robert can explain.
Okay.
In reviewing the plans, the state DOTD has asked that we make some additional modifications to the intersections, which includes but not limited to, they want us to remove the entire existing drainage system, which is adjacent to the back of curb, relocate it and put it behind the new back of curb instead of simply tying into it. But those are some of the modifications that are increasing the cost of the construction.
And, okay, so the 400 grand is the increase, or that's the total project?
That is the increase.
Okay, and that's coming out of additional bond funds as well, or is that just where the original plan was coming out of?
It's coming out of the unobligated bond
Unaudited,
funds.
but of the same
Yes, sir.
place as
Out
the
of
rest
proposition
the
number 3.
fund. Okay, that answers that question. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Then I have just a general question, if I may, on one of the subjects, ordinance 51.
Yes.
The bus benches / they've been doing some remodeling of, I'll use the term remodeling or bus benches and concrete, I'll call it slab. Is that paid for by Sportran, or is that paid for by the city?
I thought the concrete slabs were being paid for by the contractor.
Yeah,
Yes, but who's paying, I mean, I know there's benevolent contractors out there.
No,
but who's paying
I
for it?
mean the person who sells the advertising. The
Okay,
advertising,
is that part?
the contracted advertising
the
provider.
back, the whatever,
That's part of that was part of their proposal for the bus bench advertising is that they were required.
That's exactly right. Part of the agreement for the exclusive rights to advertise at those bus benches was the construction of new and improved bus benches, includes the concrete slab.
okay. So that was my question, because I saw the green and fleur-de-lis, and I thought, I mean, I'm not having anything against it, but if we were all prioritizing and everything, I was kind of sure who was spending what and what budget was coming from. So that answers my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
I
you.
do have a question, Jeff.
Yeah, Mike.
When we did the 2015
sir.
budget,
Oh,
I'll let him come back.
We still on the sport training.
oh yeah, because you
Just have a seat, just have a seat.
When we approved the 2015 budget, there was a last minute request from Sportran for about $600,000.
600 or 200.
I think
I think we ended up-
initial request was about 600. We came back and said, we'll give you a quarter's worth of funding and reevaluate. Now, I know at the end of first quarter this year, I asked the question, do we need to do another budget amendment for Sportran? And at that time, the answer was, no, fuel costs are good and we don't need this extra money. And now we're back looking at extra money. What's changed? Because it seems to me that every time Bossier hiccups, we're writing checks.
Right.
And I don't know a clear way to say that about Sportran, but that seems to be what happens.
Absolutely. Let me tell you what I know. They actually asked for more than the 300,000 you see here. They asked for like 450,000, and we said, justify. Why do you need 450,000? I was told that was what the agreement was from the previous administration, and I said, can't go on that. So I need somebody here to justify to the council. Now, Mr. Washington and Mr. Bright are both out, and they're the people who really kind of in charge. And so we said, no way, 450,000. This administration didn't agree to it. Then they started talking to us about cutting services and those kinds of issues. And so here we are. But I believe somebody will be here tomorrow that can answer that. Will Mr. Allen Bright be here tomorrow, or are you stuck with it while they're out of town? Because they're
Well,
both out of town.
it's only
It is only
introduction.
for introduction, and I
Okay.
I did
But I
happen
agree with
to
Mr. Corbin. I
to
just,
talk to Brian the day that they came and spoke to y'all, and so I called and I asked some of the same questions. I did get a detailed answer. This steel trap does not recall all of it right now because I've slept since then. But they can give us a good answer for that because it was true. I mean, I remember in last budget session they had a large number. We gave a small number. It seemed at the beginning of the year that was stretching a lot further. I was hopeful that would last all year. It does appear that they're going to need something.
Yes.
Their current forecast, it looks like they're going to need something by the beginning of next month, or else they're going to have to look at reductions.
right.
But they had an explanation for it. It was
They
reasonable.
do. They do.
But I mean, what I think my comment, if I make, is shouldn't we be, I mean, these are like Band-Aids. It's not going away. Why aren't we being presented with the options for reduction of services?
There was actually a longer-term plan. I mean, I think this is to make it through this year, but they had some ideas for how to tighten up the services
Absolutely.
provided anyway, cut costs and that kind of thing. So it will probably be a matter of us having to prioritize some things on what routes are available.
We will.
Mr. Chair, one of the things that they did, they actually asked for $450,000 as the mayor had asked, and one of the things that she requested from them was, show us in $50,000 increments if you only get 4, if you only get 353, what services would be reduced. And so they do have a plan for if they do have to reduce those services depending on the supplements that's provided by the council, as well as a potential fee increase. And the mayor is opposed to any type of fee increase, and looking at reduction of services is something that, you know, we're willing for the council to look at, but we know that those people that are impacted by bus services are the ones that need them the most. So,
And there are additionally, you know, I think one of the things to keep in mind here is that what they're trying to do is keep some of the services online until the new interchange is
Intermodal.
open. When the intermodal is open, it
Yes.
changes up the routes drastically, and it cuts a lot of cost for them. And so, you know, if they can maintain a level of service so that they don't lose the ridership, then when they move to that new model, it provides the same service to the same number of people, but at a much decreased cost. And so it's sort of trying to get to that point. There's also the talk of there was an additional like mid-city kind of interchange where some of the buses wouldn't have to come all the way downtown to change over, and they had a proposed location that I thought was a fantastic idea for a location. So, that, there's a lot of that thinking in there that's kind of like, got to get to that point, and how do we get to that point? What's the best way to get to that point? Because at that point, they really do have a much better plan. So,
And there was some federal funding involved, so.
I know there's DOT, the big DOT
There was some federal funding involved with what we as a city had to do to be able to continue to access those funds. So they have a plan. I'm trying to squeeze all I can to keep from having to increase. But, we'll see where it goes. But once they give you all the explanation, then we can certainly look to you to give us some guidance on what you think. We were just trying to get through to the new intermodal facility before we cut any services to those folks who really trying to get to work and that kind of thing.
And that potential exchange site is a piece of currently public land that's very underutilized, and it sits at a very, a very kind of prime location to cut the loop times down a lot, and it's actually, I would love to see that come to fruition. I know it's very little capital cost that they would have to use to do that. So anyway, that's a little discussion on that. If anybody has additional questions, well, so let's maybe by tomorrow we'll just find out when De Niro and Alan are going to be back in town, and then that we can let people know when they can address their questions to them.
Absolutely.
And so that brings us to, let's see, are we at ordinances on second reading and final passage?
We are. Ordinance number 40 amends the 2015 Grant Special Revenue Fund budget. Ordinance 41 amends the 2015 budget for the general fund. Ordinance 42, annexation tag number 14-06, an ordinance to enlarge the limits and boundaries of the city of Shreveport, a 22.570 acres tract of land located south of Long Lake Estates, Unit number 14, located in Section 28, T16 North, R13 West, Caddo Parish, Louisiana. Ordinance 43 is an annexation tag number 15-01 to enlarge the limits and boundaries of the city of Shreveport, a 6.466 acre tract of land located near the southeast corner of Mount Zion Road and Linwood Avenue in Section 1, T16 North, R14 West, Caddo Parish, Louisiana. Ordinance 44 is an annexation tag number 15-02 to enlarge the limits and boundaries of the city of Shreveport, the west 45 feet of the north 300 to the Brooks Road dedication located in Section 27, T17 North, R15 West, Caddo Parish, Louisiana. Ordinance number 45 is annexation tag number 15-03, the ordinance to enlarge the limits and boundaries of the city of Shreveport, two tracts of land lying adjacent to the Southern Trace Development in Sections 29 and 30, T16 North, R13W, Caddo Parish, Louisiana. Ordinance number 46 is zoning C-46-15, amending Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances, the City of Shreveport zoning ordinance by rezoning property located on the northeast corner of Ann Avenue and Southside Drive, being the same is hereby changed from B2 Neighborhood Business District to R1B Suburban 1 Family Residential District. Ordinance 42 is zoning C-4715, amending Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances, the City of Shreveport zoning ordinance by rezoning property located on the northwest corner of Greenwood Road and Bert Coons Industrial Loop, being the same is hereby changed from B3E Community Business Extended Use District to I1 Light Industrial District with site plan approval. Ordinance 48 is zoning C-4815, amending Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances, the City of Shreveport zoning ordinances by rezoning property located on the south side of Levy Street, 225 feet east of Texas Avenue, and north side of Levy Street, 140 feet east of Texas Avenue, being the same is hereby changed from I2 Heavy Industrial District to B3 Community District with site plan approval.
All right, that was a lot. I always think those zoning and annexation things, they sound so long.
They are.
They are. Is there any tabled legislation that we think the council is going to consider? To answer that for myself, no. And let's see, so now I believe we're at Property Standards Appeals. Mr. Green.
I wanted to ask one, remind me later to ask a question about something.
All right. You want to do it now?
I want to go over a little bit more on the EMS, on the general fund. I believe that's the big issue on this general fund rebudgeting issue.
Okay.
Isn't that, so,
About 41?
41, let me make sure. I'm on.
Wait.
No.
No, that's
It's 50.
50.
50.
There we go.
Wrong spot here.
Ordinance, it's ordinance 50.
It's ordinance 50.
Yes, sir.
Now, the, EMS revenue issue on EMS revenue, is that because is that really a projection issue? Or was that a function of when we did that whatever contract with whoever we do that thing and then we get it refunded? Is that just not working out as well, or was it just,
It's
The first year that we had that contract, went back and picked up prior years. So the first year we did get that number, but it was not adjusted down to reflect what the amount going forward is. So we're still doing it and we're still getting money, but we just aren't getting as much as we did that very first year.
They had collected the previous year's money in that.
I got you. And so then, when we prepared the next year's budget, we just rolled forward the same amount. And then it wasn't until later that we realized, oh, we should have only done 6/8 of the prior year's number because we wouldn't get the extra 4 months.
Correct.
We get that money back.
Okay, because I know there was a big discussion for a while of these two budget things that we then had to move ordinances back and forth. And
We had the
finally-
same question, Mr.
So, and if somebody answered that already, I
They
apologize
didn't.
if I missed
No,
it.
no, it's the first time.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
I'm starting to pay a lot more attention.
I noticed.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Terrence.
Okay. Our first case is 3815 Cornell. This is going to be in your area, Mr. Bradford. The owner has replaced the siding, windows, door on the west and south side of the structure. And he is continuing to work, if you see the photos there. So if we, the only thing that we're asking right now is to continue to work and to keep the construction debris at a minimum. The owner is not present. Okay. So you're basically saying that he's showing great faith, effort, and Yes, continuing his work.
Yes, if we could come back August the 10th, I'm sure we'll see even more work done.
Is that a month?
2 months.
2 months. Oh, wait a minute. Hey, a couple of months.
Couple months.
Okay, yeah, okay. Mr. Chairman, I so move that we extend this
Second by the chair.
60 days or whatever.
60 days.
What's the date, Mr. Chairman?
August the 10th.
We're going to say 60 days. Okay.
August the 10th.
That house, I remember when that thing started, I was giving that one up for a goner.
Yeah,
So,
it's significant improvements there, and that motion passes unanimously. What, except for, it didn't register a vote for Bowman, I'm sorry. Bowman, if you could read.
What's your vote, yes?
Yeah,
good to go.
all right.
Okay, our next case is 354 West 75th Street. It's got my photos a little bit mixed up.
Isn't that?
Okay, there we go.
Stephanie Lindsay.
All right.
Here's
The owner is here. We have new siding on the front, which is the south side of the structure, new windows. We have replaced the front and rear door. One side that has the rotten wood, it has been replaced there. So we are continuing on, and we're asking that this be reviewed again on August 10th.
I'll move to postpone to August the 10th.
Second, third, fourth.
All right. Go back now.
And motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Okay.
Our next case is 618 Argyle Street. Right now, the owner has primed and painted the front of the structure. He has replaced the seals, but there's a lot more work to do. He has made some improvement on the structure. I do have to meet with the owner tomorrow on site, and I'm asking that we push this back to the 22nd of June.
Anybody have a problem with that? I'll make the motion to move,
Second.
postpone to the 22nd of June.
Whose district?
Stephanie Lynch.
Stephanie's. And it looks like all votes are in. Motion, Councilman Jenkins. The motion passes unanimously.
You got?
That's it? That it, Mr. Green?
Thank you.
That's all for today?
Can I ask you about something while you're up here?
Sure.
Of course, my thing that, I'll get with you after the meeting because my map won't come up at the moment, so.
I'll mention one real quickly. Was I reported this last week, I believe, and reported it to a couple of different departments because it's an unusual situation. But on the corner of Southern and College, I believe it's 1131 might be the address. Is a house where they have got all kinds of junk outside, and they've moved a trailer onto the sidewalk, even on the other side of Southern, on the city's right-of-way. They've got a trailer sitting out there with things for sale, and it just clearly is not. I mean, it's a care premise on one level, but it may be a zoning violation or something else as well. I mean, there's something weird is going on there.
You say that's 1131?
I believe so. I believe it's 1131 College.
We'll get you some
I've gotten
tomorrow.
a few complaints about that one.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to step into your district for a minute, but I ran by a place Saturday, Highland and Stoner, and it's the second house to the north. I think there's a car repair place on the corner, and then there's what may be a rent house, but there was a pile that stretched from me to Terrence and as high as the roof. Everything from furniture to trash bags.
I know exactly which one he's talking about. In fact, sometimes I feel like this time of year you start seeing a lot more things pop up. You know, it's I may need to just come and give y'all a list one day, but I'm seeing more and more things that are kind of exacerbating lately. You know, just getting a little worse this time of year.
What addresses?
But that one is, you know, Tahira just left. I think that's right across the street from her office.
Okay.
So, and they have been cited before. It's a past violator. I know the building he's talking about, and y'all will have them in your. You probably have an open, you know, complaint right now. So, but yeah, give me a call if you need the exact address. I can find it for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me ask one question also, Mr. Chairman. What's the backlog when you care of premise issues? Is there a backlog on getting your care of premise? You okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me, and I sent this to Mr. Thompson this afternoon regarding some houses, and I think I spoke to you. There's a row of shotgun houses on Lawrence.
Right.
And then there's another house that is just in horrible condition on Jewel. What's the process, the timeliness of the process that it would take for those to go from siting to demolition?
I think the Lawrence houses might be unusual in that there's a nonprofit organization that's trying to repurpose those as commercial.
So they're burnt, that one on the end is all burnt up?
Not all of them, but a few of them. I know what they're trying to do is take them and then repurpose them into like office type uses, like an office village.
I don't know if we're talking about the same houses in the 700 block. You familiar with the house I'm talking about? What's the status of those houses? Do you have an idea?
Well, we just, I believe, he's correct in what he was saying, and also I believe the Historical Society had a little something to do with it, so we had to kind of back off from it. So now we've been given the green light to proceed with the demolition.
Green light to do what?
Proceed.
In demolition?
Go for it, yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
So those are going to be demolished?
Yes.
And have we been in communication with the people from Norla about that? I mean, do they know that?
Yes.
Okay, okay, I just want to make sure. Okay. All right, yeah, I know those are kind of controversial, but I mean, I know what some people find beautiful, some people find horrible, but they are irreplaceable, so it's definitely a difficult situation. But thank you so much. All right.
You got the court date on the one we were talking about on Logan?
No, I didn't bring it with me.
Let me see if I can find other-
But I can get that for you.
Okay.
Was it 2837?
No.
Cross street. The guy with the
Down the
porch.
street with those, yeah.
Okay, so I have one more for you. I believe this is 964 Riley Lane swimming pool. Maybe more of a botanist slash breeder of mosquitoes. That I think y'all have been there several times.
I think I've heard about this one.
And it's getting, I mean, it's now black tar, the water color.
Okay. Well, we do have several citations and violations that we just addressed on Riley Lane. So I'll be able to give you something.
One with the swim, this is one about a swimming pool for sure.
Is that in the backyard? Okay.
And it's so bad that it's not even the property, it's the guys around the corner that are like seeing. Okay, thank you.
I have just generally, I have seen an increase in complaints and calls about. I mean, obviously grass all over the city, but in a particular area where we don't always see them, kind of along Thornhill between maybe McCormick and Stevenson. There's some houses on either side of that area that I've been hearing. You know, like maybe it may be at the corner of Ratcliffe, it may be at the corner of, I can't remember exactly what cross street it is, but there's 2 or 3 lots in a row there where they've gotten really high.
Oh, the ones with, they have a little slope on them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
They're,
yeah, I mean, they're 4 or 5 feet tall, some of the.
yeah, it's kind of extreme.
Thornhill and Stevenson?
Yeah, and well, it may not be Stevenson. It's somewhere between like Stevenson and McCormick. Those are all parallel streets. There's several streets there.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Just go up and down Thornhill. Y'all will see it. And it's that's one of those. I think it's been on the South Highlands Neighborhood Association. It's an area where property standards inspectors probably don't go a lot because generally the properties are very well kept over there. But there's a few that are pretty bad right now.
Right now.
Extreme, yeah. Like they stand out. You'll know. It won't take long to find them.
No boy.
Thank you so much. That's all.
Come on back, we got a list of a few more things.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, hey, the longer you stand up, just sit down and save yourself some trouble. The longer you stand there, the more we'll remember.
Think of something.
You know?
Wow.
We're not trying to give you a hard time, Terrence. It's just-
They don't like talking to Dorothy, that's all.
There are definitely a couple on Thornhill right now that are just
Yeah.
like jungles. Over
There are. So we don't have any ABO appeals today, from what I see, unless, correct me if I'm wrong. And there are no MPC appeals, but it does look like we have a special exception use
That's a postponed.
23rd.
postponed to the
23rd
23rd.
June, yeah.
Okay. We don't have any taxi or SOB appeals. Do we have any reports from officers, boards, or committees?
Mr. Chairman, I want to remind the council, and I'll do it again tomorrow, of the Small Emergency Business Task Force public hearing on June the 16th.
June
Here
the
at the
16th.
Chamber at 3. I urge and hope that the council members can come and be a part of that.
Well, thank you so much, and I remember you gave us a great update about that last time, so please do remind everyone tomorrow. I think that'll be a great thing to do. Anybody else, or?
I have some other comments, Mr. Chairman, if we in order.
Yep.
Let me first ask the mayor and Mr. Crawford, as I get patient, not patients. As I get citizen, as I get citizen complaints and requests for service, I make my request through Mr. Thompson, and Mr. Thompson timely submit those to the appropriate department for attention.
Yes, sir.
But he asked, please investigate and get back with the council, with him or Bradford for some resolve.
Yes, sir.
And I don't get those responses to know when an issue is resolved. Can I get a response?
What did Councilman yield just a moment, please? I have those, but I'm doing it a little bit different than you. I'm sending it to Mr. Crawford. I learned the hard way. And then Mr. Crawford sends it back to me. So I'm just suggesting that.
Well, I appreciate that, Councilman, and I've dealt with this with some constituents. And all due respect to the administration, when I submitted to Mr. Thompson, and I was just a middleman, I use it as an official request because it went through the council. Okay. Now, I don't think either way is wrong or right. I'm just saying that works for me, and I'm asking that the response or the resolution would be forwarded back so that I can bring closure to it. Because again, he's keeping a log of my inquiries to him, and I want to see closure. There's one instance that I have not seen closure. I mean, there's several, but the one that I want to mention now is I reported 3 weeks ago that in the middle of the 1700 block of Pier Avenue, between Galilee Church and Galilee Learning Center, I mean, water is just spewing out of the ground. And nothing has resolved. I mean, we're losing, just gallons and tons of water on a daily basis because it's just spewing out of the ground. I went by there yesterday and I'm like, nothing has happened. I mean, why are we losing all this water? And I would just like some resolve to that because, I mean, that's an area that we should be able to investigate, to determine where it's coming from and tap it.
Certainly, and if I could address it, Mr. Chair, either way, Councilman Fleury sending a request directly to me,
Sure.
I try and designate that request to the appropriate department head to follow up on.
Sure.
And you can imagine there are 7 of you, each with a number of requests a day, and so it's easy to lose track of. And so I trust my department heads when I send them something that is from a council member, that they act just as they would a citizen, especially if something's brought to their attention where if there's water spewing in the street, or if there's a pothole in the street that's causing structural damage, or if there's somebody else who has an issue, that they address it timely and appropriately. And certainly if you ask for, I try and ask for a response back myself.
Sure.
So if it comes to me, I can follow back up on it as well. And so, Barbara, there was a question about Pier Avenue, 1700 block of Pier Avenue with some water. And I don't know if council message may have come through Mr. Thompson's email to you and then CC to me. And
I don't know off the top of my head. I really don't know. I would have to just pull my emails and see if I've gotten a response and who I sent it to.
Yeah.
But if it was water spewing, typically we handle that through our dispatch number at 7600 fairly quickly. And they usually address it, but it just off the top of my head, that one doesn't ring a bell, but I will check.
just make a note of it and please
Councilman
respond
Bradford,
to.
do you happen to recall what 100 block that might have been?
1700.
1700 block up here.
Just
Okay.
respond back to.
Directly in front
I
of
mean,
it.
I'll check my BlackBerry here in just a
1700
second.
block, and I'll go by there this afternoon
Yeah,
and see
between
if it's still.
Galilee and Galilee Learning Center.
Generally, if there's.
Yes, that is and I apologize if I didn't respond. That is a private issue that we've been dealing with, and I've sent people out there to look at it. It's not a city water main. That was the last report that I got. We've been out there a number of times. to that, to the church.
I mean, you say it's a what now?
But it's in the median, you're saying,
It's in the
Councilman?
median?
It's in the middle of the road. It's not on
Middle of the
nobody's
road?
property.
Okay.
It's in the middle of Pierre Avenue.
But are you saying, Barbara, the leak may be coming from a private property over to the middle of the
Okay.
road?
Private
We'll find out,
Let me
Councilman.
just double check.
Yeah, because I don't
Maybe
think
that
it's
was
on
a
their meter.
different-
If their
maybe
meter
that
was
was a
clicking up,
different
shit, they'd
one.
have complained.
No, it shouldn't be,
Well,
it should
maybe.
not
I
be.
mean,
No,
Well, they
Well,
may know.
their bill would determine that they
yeah, but
know.
it hadn't been going for long enough for the
No, it's been
bill.
going a long time.
No, it shouldn't be in the middle if it's not a
Well,
private
just
issue,
investigate it,
but
you know, we'll
We'll
absolutely.
find out, sir.
Okay.
We will.
Well,
And-
but
and
you
we'll
bring
get
up a
back.
good point, and I know that, each of us handles it differently, and I know probably the administration or department heads, probably everybody gets a little overwhelmed. I don't think we've ever had a truly standard way of dealing with these things, and that's in part, I think, natural, because sometimes issues are severe, and even if we had a standard system in place, I think there's that temptation to just call the person right away and see if you can get the quickest response possible. But I have suggested in the past, and I've seen others who have systems that work well for them. That maybe we could start using a very simple system of a spreadsheet almost. For me, it is very difficult, to kind of close things out. Sometimes I don't know what's been addressed or what hasn't. I keep a little spreadsheet where I'll note where I've submitted something to be addressed, but I don't always know if it has been addressed or not. And so it may stay in my open category for 2 years, but it may have been addressed 2 weeks after I sent it in, so it can get difficult to keep up with all those things. And so, as we move forward in the next few years as a council, it definitely would be open if people want to talk about a system, that's, because I'm sure you get, a barrage of stuff at all times of day
Every
that
day.
is probably hard to balance as well. I've heard some different suggestions, so.
A report of concern. It's just, it's already there.
It is.
If it was working properly.
It's a little.
It would.
It's a little tough from these, is all. But the report of concern link on the city's website.
You get a response, you get a time
It
of
is a
when
little
who
slow on the
responds.
mobile, but yeah, if we can improve the mobile performance on that a little bit,
Let
it's a
us
great one.
look at
But
And if I could say this, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Bradford, and I know that our department heads really work hard trying to respond. In the past 2 weeks, we have been responding to a disaster, so it could have gotten lost in that. We put the lives of our residents over some of these other issues that we've had, because for 2 weeks now, we've been battling with this, with the flooding. But certainly, there was never any intent not to take care of a concern. I just want you to know that, because we usually try to be on top of it and try to get something back to you. So if we can work together.
absolutely, and that's certainly why it's.
We went into emergency mode 2 weeks ago. I mean,
Yeah,
we've been.
and sometimes it can be difficult because, like I say, certainly I trust that a lot of these things have been taken care of. And so if one occasionally slips through the cracks, it is difficult to identify that it has, because there's,
Absolutely.
you don't always know. But typically they are taken care of.
I know.
Well,
Quickly.
Mr.
So
Mayor,
it's a little tough to figure out the right system,
Yeah.
but I think if we talk about it a little, we come up with a
And we
balance.
will. We'll come up with a good
effective
system.
system. I mean, but again, we all 7 from various backgrounds and various other interests. We multitasking jobs and everything else. I found my way is to at least have a protocol of accountability. That's what I deal with, accountability. So, Mr. Thompson, are you comfortable with what I'm doing as far as reporting to you?
Yes, we'll do it any way you want to do it.
Okay. Because again, I know that
Send them all to you.
I know that you respond
I
back to
didn't
me.
know that was an option.
You respond back to me that it was submitted, forwarded to Brian usually. And then I get back with my problem is again that I don't get the second email saying, okay, this is resolved. And I'm not being critical, I'm just saying as to me to have at least to close this book on this complaint, and then I will be comfortable in telling people when they call me that it has been taken care of.
Sure.
Thank you.
And Councilman Bradford, I did send that off to our dispatch office. We do have an emergency number. We have a number that you can call 24/7 when things are coming out of pipes that aren't supposed to be coming out of pipes, and I reported that. I did not get a response back, and I apologize. We have been kind of in an emergency mode. Normally, the unfortunate thing is unless it's causing an issue with people being out of water, if it's a small leak, it could be 2 to 4 to 6 weeks before it's actually taken care of. And I usually follow up. I've tried to find the different methods to track these myself, and we're now trying the spreadsheet method. I'm not sure how well this is working out or not, because it seems to take me more time to do it by spreadsheet than it does just checking my emails and doing a search for every councilman, the mayor, and Brian's name, in addition to all of my staff, every Friday morning to see who I responded to, what I got back, and say, hey, what about this? One thing I do want to say is that we are getting ready to implement CityWorks, which is our asset management system. That system will allow us to do what we call is a service request. And that service request will come in, and all of our staff will be able to enter it. It will go into the system. It's kind of like what's on the website, except it will automatically it'll go to the correct person, and then it gets tracked and followed. If there's a subsequent work order where work has to be done, it will be turned into automatically a work order, and it will be trackable. And more so than we get something on the website, then we put it into our work order system that is antiquated and generally not working. And then it's difficult I can't even pull the information out of our work order system. I have to get someone else on staff to pull that information. So when you ask me at, 5 o'clock at night and that staff is not available, I can't get you answers about if this was taken care of or not. When we have the new CityWorks, and we're looking at a go live sometime September and October, and that will be for our field ops division, which is what you guys see the most. We're hopeful that that's going to slowly take care of the follow-up issues and being able to get you information on what has happened and when in a more timely manner.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, does anybody else have,
Chairman, I'm sorry, I have one final communication I would like to relate to the administration through the Parks and Recreation Director, if I could, Mayor.
I'm sorry.
I'd like to speak with the Park and Recreation Director.
Oh, she's coming up.
She's coming.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Barbara. You always keep me back in time. I know I bug you sometimes, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
and I've got super old infrastructure, and I always hear back from you quickly, so much thanks to that, because there are lots of problems.
As you know, and you did respond. I think I copied you guys regarding a situation at the MLK Community Neighborhood Association.
Yes.
Where Caddo Council on Aging have terminated their nutrition program at that location. And sent a letter out on last Monday, which they got on last Tuesday, notifying them that the seniors at the MLK Neighborhood Association would have to go to the David Raines Recreation Center for their meal. The MLK Neighborhood Association seniors have been a part of that nutrition program for over 20 years. They are the largest feeding site within that Caddo Council on Aging apparatus, other than the Meals on Wheels that goes to the houses. There are over 35 to 50 seniors that eat there every day. Okay? Now, when I was notified that the seniors at the MLK Neighborhood Association would have to go to David Raines, I went to David Raines to see the facilities. The facilities that are designated for the seniors at David Raines, which, by the way, only have 15 seniors that goes there. And the facility accommodates 15 people. As you know, just like in Park and Recreation senior activities, the MLK Neighborhood Association site is not only a feeding site for Council on Aging, it's also a site that is used by seniors for activities, programs, training. I mean, there's a host of things. I think maybe you've been there. And so going there to eat is not the primary reason for going there. Eating is just a combination of their afternoon. So they're asking these seniors to go to MLK, do their ceramics, do their activities, then get on a bus and go to David Raines to eat. When they leave their site with pre-packaged box meals that is ready to be assumed, but yet they're saying that they can't stop there anymore. That they're gonna take all the food to the David Raines, which is 3 miles away, and that they want these people to go there. Now, my inquiry to you is that it appears, and I read your response, that, you know, we are participating in several sites to where Council on Aging has this feeding program. But I think that, and I spoke to Mary Ann Roundtree, and I'm gonna speak again to Mary Ann Roundtree. My seniors are saying they are not comfortable because the David Raines Center right now has a summer youth program that has 90 kids that are also being fed there. And that the environment there is not cohesive to what they want to be doing just to go down there and eat. So I requested for Mary Ann Roundtree to suspend that decision until we can look at it and work out some alternative to get the food there. But she said no, I'm not going to reconsider it. So then I go back to the residents, the seniors, and Benny Doty, who's the president of the Martin Luther King Neighborhood Association, and said, why would they do this? It's not practical. It's not logical or reasonable for them to drive by MLK with a truckload of lunches, and take it 3 miles down the road and expect for these seniors to go down the road and get their lunch, eat there, then come back to David Raines to finish. I mean,
That
that's
has something to do with the staffing.
No,
They had a full-time staffer that was at the, and they've been consolidating all over the city.
Mr. Chairman.
But go ahead,
Mr.
sorry.
Chairman. It's not practical. And I understand we can make all the excuses, but I was about to say, and that's what I want to ask Chairman Rago, is that it appears to me, and it appears that to the seniors and the president of the Martin Luther King Neighborhood Association, is that the Council on Aging people are trying to use SPAR as some, and not directly, but indirectly, as a vendetta against the seniors at the MLK Neighborhood Association. No, that's not for you to answer. I'm just saying it appears in that I'm asking you is that with the program and activities going on at David Raines, it would appear to me, and I spoke with the center manager, that having these additional people to come there at this time does not seem reasonable because of all the activities that's going there now. And I was asking you, did they give you an explanation on why they want to combine those two sites?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I was going
Okay,
to.
that's fine. I mean,
Administration would answer that. I'm going to ask Mr. Crawford if he would respond, but let me make some introductory remarks.
Okay.
First of all, we don't have anything to do with Council on Aging.
I understand
It's
that.
not
I
our
understand.
organization.
I understand that. We don't-
MLK is not our center.
I understand that.
You know, over there at David Raines, that is our center.
Okay,
And, you know, we just call, it's a catch-22 for us.
okay,
We have nothing to do with what they do.
okay.
Now, we would prefer that they do what they do with the MLK, but we don't have any control over them. And I'm
Okay.
gonna ask Brian to piggyback in.
Okay.
And I was just going to echo those remarks. The Cattle Council on Aging is an independent private group. We have nothing to do with how they distribute their product or programs. What we did was, when we found out about them cutting services at Martin Luther King, is we reached out of the goodness of SPAR's heart in the city to say, hey, we do have services here that are provided by the Cattle Council on Aging, and if you'd like to, you're welcome here. There was no coordinated effort to shut down one and promote the other one. It was us reaching out after we learned that they were going to be shut down to say, hey, there's another place where if they're not going to provide them there, and we have nothing to do with whether they provide them or not, but you can come here and get a meal. That's just us reaching out to them, giving them an opportunity. But Cattle Council on Aging, that is purely their decision, and we have absolutely nothing to do with it.
Nothing.
And we reached out when we found out that they were going to do that, just to offer assistance, to say, and I agree with you. Is it easier for them to stay there? Certainly.
Absolutely.
But we can't make them stay there. But to insinuate that there was some coordinated effort between SPAR and trying to cut down that program is just simply
That's not
not.
what I said, Mr. Crawford.
I'm just saying, if, yes, sir.
That's not what I said. What I said was that it appears to me, and it appears to those seniors, that Council on Aging, for whatever reason, not the city, I'm not saying the city is support any conspiracy. What I'm saying is that there's something that triggered this action, and that it appears to me that it was not investigated or whether or not transferring 35 people into a facility that could only accommodate 15 to 20 would be reasonable.
No. And we agree with you. Let me
I'm saying the facility will not accommodate this extra, these extra seniors.
We would rather feed the seniors someplace than to have them not have a place. I mean, that was.
But they can bring them to their house, Mayor, and that would be more expensive.
But
They can stay at home and sit
Council on Aging.
I agree.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how can we help? That's all I need to know. Because we don't have any control over Cattle Council on Aging. We're thinking it's going to overcrowd us over there at David Raines because that's the city's facility.
Yeah.
But they made that decision.
Okay.
Now, how can we help with that?
Okay, can I get with you?
Yes, sir, you
Okay,
can.
let's get together and I'll express what I think we can do to help, okay?
Okay, absolutely.
But I just want to express that the sentiments and the feelings of the residents who feel like that they are being targeted for whatever reason, and that without the city looking at that facility and to say to them, oh, we would welcome you here, but it does not appear that we have the room to accommodate 40 or 50 more people.
And then we'd be criticized by saying we're not trying to help the seniors in the MLK. I mean, we're caught between this thing.
We'll talk.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But it's just disturbing that this type of, with all that's going on right now, that, we're dealing with something that seems to be so ridiculous.
I know.
Councilman Fleury.
I withdraw my question.
Oh, okay. All right. Was there clerk's report today?
Mr. Chairman, we have a serious flooding problem.
We do. What everyone's been waiting for 2 weeks to hear is Art's detailed. Now, it might be too detailed. I don't know if everybody remembers what he just said. It was a lot of information to take in. But Art did report that we have a flooding problem. So let the record reflect. All right. That being said, if there is nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.
Are we adjourned?
No, sometimes I think I'm.
Oh, thank you.